Lucky me. This week, I am actually out in the Caribbean. So it's these publish on Sunday nights at midnight or Monday mornings, however you want to look at it. And, you know, I'm going to be at this point sleeping, well, plus or minus whatever. And I am going to be enjoying sitting on a beach, walking around resorts, going to ruins, the usual Caribbean vacation for those of you guys who have ever been out to Cancun. And, the company's going to be running itself while I'm gone, or Skip is going to be putting out any fires that come up so that I can relax. But if you plan
chicken in
well,
the head cut off thing.
Yeah, if you plan well, a good vacation should be relaxing, knowing that things are going in the background. And so today's episode of Humanize IT, we're talking about the importance of vacations. And the idea is that when I was in college, my professors used to warn us about you can only work effectively for so long. So like one of the professors was a PhD, and all of them were, but he was PhD in programming and development. And he was like, I can only program for like an hour, maybe two at the most before I need a break. And I cannot remember the exact amount of time, but the point being is that we would sit there and do these 6-hour to 8-hour coding marathons, sometimes 12 hours with our soda and our bag of chips and just going to town on like code, thinking we were getting all this stuff done. And what we learned by the time we were seniors in college was that, man, we were idiots, because you make more and more mistakes and you spend more and more time fixing those mistakes and not thinking clearly. And so you're working really hard for a solid 12 hours. But if you had worked for an hour and taken an hour off and worked for another hour, taken an hour off, that 12-hour stint would have only been like, 4 or 5 hours at most, including your breaks.
Yeah.
Because your brain needs time to work things out and needs time to relax. It's kind of like when if any of you guys are meatheads, you're like gym buffs, you go there and you start doing burnouts. And you go and you're able to start off with the bar. And how many times can you press this bar in a row? And before your arms just turn into noodles. At first, it feels easy, but eventually you just give up. Now you're only lifting 45 pounds or whatever your bar is that you're using. And you're just struggling with it, but you're working really hard. You got a good sweat going, but you're only doing 45. Whereas in the beginning, you could have done like 4 or 5 lifts of, 350 or 225 or whatever your bench is. But because you wore yourself out, you were only able to do 45 pounds. And your brain is no different. My wife says it all the time. Your brain is a muscle. You have to relax it. You have to take care of it. You have to put the good things into it so you get good things out of it.
So I'm probably the poster child for what you're talking about here. I don't know. I have been through some fortunate work engagements where I've had great opportunities to take time off, to go away and do something. And in that, what seems to be a very stereotypical techie sort of fashion, I have not done that. I worked with a company at one time, and they were kind of following, back then it was kind of a popular thing. Netflix had this, the slide deck floating around, and they were kind of one of the big companies that had, at the time, put out this unlimited PTO sort of program. Just take what you need, we're not going to track it. And that was a great idea. And I love that. But I don't know. I took maybe the entire time I was there, as far as, a full week-long stretch, I think I might have taken like 2 or 3 vacations. I was there 8 years, and I would take a day here, an afternoon there, and I really, really appreciated that element. But as far as dedicated time to get away and relax and recharge, I've always been really, really poor at that. So I don't know. Maybe I need to listen intently to this podcast.
Well, it's hard because, you're a hard worker and you want to get things done. You don't want to let people down. So you're like, okay, if I work harder, I can get more done. Yeah. Yes and no. You can get through some pretty good binges, but there's a story I like to tell from, once again, my college days, where I was working on I think it was a C++ program. And I was in the lab because back then you went to the lab to program.
There you
Yes,
go.
I'm old. And I was sitting there working on this program, and I'm sitting there like editing Vi and trying to figure out what's going. No, it's Pico, not Vi. I was working in a Pico editor, and I remember thinking like, oh gosh, I just cannot figure out why my code won't compile. And I sat there probably for half an hour trying to figure out where I had a context error or whatever it was. And eventually a friend of mine's like, hey, you want to go eat dinner? And so I went and got dinner. Went to cafeteria, talked to my friends, ate about 10 pounds of food because that's how I ate back then. And I came back down, I sat down and looked at my code, and yep, sure enough, it took me about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And there was this missing semicolon. And
Semicolon.
it's
Yeah.
just, my brain was so tired that it just didn't know what to do. And I solved in a matter of 5 minutes. I could not figure it out for a good half hour. And I'd been programming for 4 hours. So how many more mistakes did I make? Would I have made that mistake? And in my career, I found like there's been times in my job where I was so exhausted because I had been
Hmm.
worked to the bone. And part of it was me not recognizing that I was exhausted. And part of it is my managers for not recognizing that they were triple booking me. And there was three. It's like that scene in Office Space. I have three bosses, and they all think I need to work the weekend because I haven't worked the weekend recently for them.
Yeah, for them.
Like, no, this is my third one in a row, guys. My family misses me. And so, but at the time I'm getting so tired and like I'm like rebooting things on a whim. Like I'm just trying to get my job done. And like not thinking like this is a core firewall. Why are you rebooting this at 4 p.m. on a work day? And not
Yeah.
just taking risks that you shouldn't take just because you're just trying to get work done
Yeah.
and ask for forgiveness later. But in your head, it's logical because you're just working. But if you are a well rested mind, you'd be like, you know what? I think I can wait 3 hours for the change window and just get this
Uh-huh.
done. But in the back of your mind, you're like, oh gosh, if I had to reboot this, and if I don't get this, if I just reboot it right now, no one will notice. The failover will happen, and
The
I can move
failover
on,
happened.
and I can get
Yeah.
twice as much work done. And these little logic things happen in your head when you're tired because you're trying to perform. You're not trying to act smart. So the importance of occasions, in my opinion, is a couple fold. One is your brain needs to change scenery. And I'm not talking just like, slowing down on work. I'm talking you need to get your brain into another scenario that it
Yeah.
enjoys, whether it's video games or it's golfing or going and having a cigar at your lounge. Those are the things that you need to do to relax your brain. In my opinion, like a longer vacation, like a trip to the Tetons. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see like in the background, I have my vacation to the Tetons up in Yellowstone, and you have this unplugged time. And
Yeah.
then the business has to function without you. So that's the second benefit of a vacation is not just relaxing your brain, but how many things was the business dependent on you for? So if you cannot leave for a week without everything going to crap, you're a bad leader.
Yeah. Well, some of that. So I do have one vacation experience. So this rolls the clock back quite a bit ways. My kids were much younger, just had two at the time, and we decided we were going to do this big road trip vacation. And so we loaded up and we drove from West Texas all the way to Washington D.C. And that was a long trip. Stopping along the way, seeing the sights and doing things. And I was unplugged for that time. That's one of the few long term vacations. And it was a full 2 week vacation. And that's a bit of an unusual thing, it seems like in workplaces today, but we were gone for 2 weeks. And I remember coming back to the office and the amount of work that I had to do to get things back on track and pick up my projects and just kind of in some aspects just get my brain wrapped back around the day-to-day stuff left me with this feeling of never again. Never again will I take 2 weeks off. A week, okay, yes, but 2 weeks, it just it seemed counterproductive. So I don't know. There's got to be some sort of balance
Yes.
between this, and I think I know personally, I really struggle with this, and technology makes it even harder. So, I am perfectly okay, I feel like, in taking a short vacation, but it really aggravates my wife because I make it even shorter, perhaps, because I'll take, 20, 30 minutes a day and just stay on top of email, clean up the junk email. Maybe there's something I can't really respond to, but if I've cleared out all the clutter in my inbox, when I come back, I feel like I'm better prepared. And so for me, I think I can switch those gears pretty easily when I'm on a vacation. Um, and work for 30 minutes out of the day and then have the rest of the day vacation. I tried that. I don't know how successful that is, but I can also see that being very much a I don't know, that nagging sort of deal. If you're always carrying your phone with you, if the expectation is you're always going to answer that from work, are you really disconnected? Are you really taking that vacation that you probably really need?
Yeah, and I tell people, like, I would rather you have one of those vacations than no vacation at all.
Okay,
You
I can do
gotta
that.
unplug now, but it's kind of like letting go of the bar. You're benching, and you gotta let those muscles go,
Yeah.
and then you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so much stronger now. And I like to do it in like short bursts as well. As Skip knows, like, hey Skip, hey, you want to book a meeting for me Friday afternoon? Heck no.
Oh yeah, no,
What's
no,
wrong
yeah.
with me? No, in no world will Adam ever say, "Hey, book a meeting on Friday afternoon."
Mhm.
And the reason is because I leave Friday afternoons as this kind of escape time, and it's also it's an escape hatch on my week. Really, is what it is. And so, if we have a really busy week, we have a lot of new clients coming in, we have a lot of work being done. I can use Friday afternoons as an escape hatch. So I book things that need to be cleaned up before the weekend on Friday afternoons. Friday afternoons is my, oh crap, I need to get more done before the weekend. Otherwise, I'm going to work all weekend. And so Friday afternoon is this buffer time escape hatch so that I can eject myself out of the business in a graceful way
Yeah.
so that the weekend I can shut my brain off. Now I'll still check my messages on the weekend. Skip, you see me online.
Oh yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
answering HubSpot
Yeah.
requests. I'm working through emails and I'm pinging things. But it's very very slow. My
Hmm.
brain is at a sloth pace on the weekends, and that's because on a Friday afternoon I take these breaks, and then throughout the week you should have like Wednesday evenings. That's what I call boy movie night because everybody else has to go to their church events, and I
Yeah.
and Elijah don't have to go anywhere, and so we sit at home and watch a crappy boy movie. We watched GI
Mhm.
Joe this Wednesday, and
Yeah,
that's like
great
this
American
mini
hero.
vacation right in the middle of the week.
Yep.
And that's good because then all of a sudden Thursday morning I come in and I'm refreshed. I had a night off with my son. It was fantastic. And I really, really am a firm believer in the mini vacations. I have this lounge just down the street from us, a cigar lounge. Shout out to Capital Cigar. And anybody come to Lincoln, I'll take you there for a little mini vacation. And that's their thing is mini vacations. Going there and they have some of the best mixed drinks you'll ever have in your life, and they have the most awesome selection of cigars. And if you're not even a cigar smoker, the ventilation is so fantastic you don't know who's smoking next to you because there's a rabbit that is digesting
Right.
all of the smoke on the wall every like 5 feet.
Okay.
So if you want to know what somebody next to you is smoking, you have to lean over and say, "Hey, what are you smoking there?" And versus most cigar bars where you know what everybody within a 50-foot radius of you is smoking,
Yeah.
but it's a mini vacation. You're spending like an hour and a half to 2 hours just having conversations with people and relaxing without your laptop.
Yeah. Well,
And that
and
is
this is,
important.
I think this is, and this is not too hard of a stretch here, but so I've raised four kids. So my youngest is a senior in high school, graduating in just a month now. So I'm kind of nearing the end of that cycle, and this prevalence of screens. and always on, and not being able to engage. So set the screen down and engage in something separate, something that's going on, around you, even if it means setting that screen down and picking up another screen. So, if you're going to play a game or something, I think there really is a value in that dedicated away time, the mini vacation, and being able to put work on hold, put responsibilities and some distractions on hold for some period of time is becoming not only more challenging, but I think it is maintaining its importance. And I think we've got to figure out a way to do that, to make it a priority, to disengage.
Oh yeah, and you look at one of the places I go camping. It's up by Red Feather, Colorado. You can Google it. Look on Google Maps. It's up in the Pooter Valley. Lots of jokes there. Take it up the Pooter. I took it down the Pooter. Whatever. There's all sorts of shirts you can get for whitewater rafting on the Pooter Valley,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful place. You know what's beautiful about the Pooter Valley?
No
There are
cell
no
service.
cell towers.
I got it. Got it. Yep.
You cannot work if you
Yep.
wanted to, and so um, unless you can work 100% offline, which I cannot. I think you can go into town and there's a Wi-Fi in Rustic or somewhere where you can get some signal. So if you need to check your messages, you have to deliberately get in your truck, drive up the valley
Yep.
20 miles, and find a town with a bar or something with Wi-Fi. That's your best hope. But beautiful country, beautiful hiking, wonderful places to just see, and rivers to play in, and fishing. But the beauty of it is you have to unplug, and everywhere should have a place like this. Now maybe you East Coast kids don't know what I'm talking about. Places without cell phones, that's crazy talk.
Yep.
That you either have signal or bad signal, but there's never no signal. Let me introduce you to Texas, Nebraska, and Colorado.
Yep.
There are places
The
where you
great
better have a full
outdoors.
tank of gas because you ain't getting a signal for the next 40 miles. And I was in there when this particular trip behind me with Tetons. There was a spot where I busted a tire and I couldn't figure out how to. I'm ashamed to say this. I could not figure out how to get my spare tire off my own truck. Evidently, they changed it.
Yep.
So now you need I had to take my key to my car and unlock this little hole in my bumper, and then use a winch to lower my tire. Back in my day, you crawled under your truck, you undid the wing nut,
Yeah, I
pulled
know.
the tire off, and you popped it on.
They
And
made it easy on you, right? It was so supposedly easier.
yeah, supposedly this is easier. It's theft proof, all this other jazz. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, I have never wanted a Wi-Fi signal more because I needed to Google how on a GMC Sierra 1500, how do you get the tire off this thing?
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law and my brothers are laughing at me because they had the same problem.
Yeah.
And they're like mountain men. And so it's just funny that sometimes you miss your Wi-Fi signal, but I consistently go places where I have to be unplugged. My kids can't get online, I can't get online, and my wife can't get online, and we're all like just enjoying time, like going around the woods, getting scrapes and bruises, and starting fires. That's why I like camping.
Yep.
But these
Well, and
vacations, these throughout the day, throughout the week, are great. So don't just think in terms of big vacations like this and unplugging, but think in terms of like, are there a couple hours a day where you just put your cell phone off to the side?
yeah, and that engaging in other activities. So a little bit of a tangent story here. So again, child rearing years closing up. So I had one opportunity. One of my kids was without a phone for a little bit, and they needed to go somewhere. So this is,
Seems to be a
someone.
routine thing in our house.
So they're driving, all right, and they're driving to a new location, but they don't have a phone at the time. So what does Dad do? Well, Dad prints out a map, all right, and I give them this piece of paper, and I say, "This is where you're going, and this is how I think you should get there." And I give that to them. I mean, in today's world, how many of people younger than me, I guess, let me just leave it at that, can get around somewhere without listening to their device say, turn here, uh, you know, your destination is on the right, sort of stuff. Can you do that? And that little ability to put technology on hold. I'm a techie guy. I love technology, smart homes, automation. I look stuff up all the time. I've got resources. I'm all in on the technology stuff. But can you do things without the technology? Can you think on your own? And so, anyway, a bit of a tangent there, but finding those mini vacations, even where you're unplugged. Imagine what that can do for your brain, and how you can think about things and process life. And that in itself, kind of back to what you're talking about, just look what it does for your mind to think about things differently, to do something totally out of the normal, is refreshing for your brain. And then you can come back to your normal work activities, and you're a little bit more recharged and focused.
So the last thing I want to talk about before we close this out is signs that you need a vacation. And this isn't meant to be funny
Mm,
or be kind of kitschy, but I want to know, you have to identify that you need a vacation or need more downtime. Mini
mhm.
vacations. So a mini vacation is 2 hours. A long vacation is 3 or more days. And
Okay.
what you want to do is you want to think in terms of, what is my brain doing? Am I snapping at people more? Are people being worse at their jobs? So you're walking into your
Mm,
company and it seems like no one is getting their work done. That's a sign you need a vacation, not them, you.
that's interesting.
Um, you know, things such as, are you eating more? Are you drinking more? Do you find yourself having a hard time sleeping? These are things that you are out of balance, that you need to focus on relaxing your brain and replacing a lot of that lost energy with good energy, so that when you come back, you're sleeping harder. That when you look at other people and they're not getting their job done, maybe you can see like, oh, I haven't empowered them, or the
Hmm.
process isn't working. You can see the little problems. But when you're exhausted, everybody else seems to be the problem.
Mm,
You don't
yeah.
sleep well, ironically, and you find yourself being a lot more distracted, and so you compensate by eating more and a lot more sugars and a lot more alcohol, because those are sugars that are going
Mm,
to keep you functional. It has
yeah.
nothing to do with how much coffee you're drinking. That does not say you need more vacation. That means that you're sleep deprived. You need to sleep better. But the signs that you need to break are that things are not going well. Your relationships are not going well. You're eating
Yep.
more. Your body is trying to compensate for the level of stress it has by placing blame on others, by inserting more sugar into your diet, and by rising stress levels. And
Yeah.
that causes you not to sleep. You wake up at 2 a.m. worried about something at work. Your brain is exhausted. Just like, again, go back into the bench press. You're sitting there, your arms are shaking, and you're pressing as hard
Yeah.
as you can, and it's going up. And you're, why is this bar so heavy? It's not heavy. You're just tired.
And,
And so
and that's
that's
going
what
to
I
be
want
the
people to recognize.
and that's going to be the hard part, I think, about that is, when you're struggling at things, when there is a mountain of work to do, you're having trouble getting the things done that you want to do. Um, for me, I just immediately think I need to work harder. I need to work longer. I double down on everything. And I think we need to have this intentional process where we look back or look around us every once in a while and say, no, it's not that I need to work hard. I don't need to put in another 4 hours worth of work. I need to get up and go to take a long dinner with my wife and take a break for 2 hours just to get away and to focus on something other than work.
Yeah. And not everybody relaxes the same. That's another
Yeah,
key point.
yeah, that is important.
Some of you are like, I can't sit still. I got to keep moving. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
that's cool.
Yep.
Find something where you can do a thing that is different than in your work. It has to be something different than what you're doing on a day to day. So if you're somebody who enjoys going out and doing things all the time, and you're just a busy brain, you're a busy mind, go do something other than work for a week. Go
Hmm.
and visit the Louvre. Go and
Okay.
visit the Prada. See
Yeah.
some art. Go and climb some ruins. Find somewhere to go where you can do a bunch of things that aren't work related. And you might get some new ideas. You might create some neurological pathways that you didn't have before. And so you're more efficient. But regardless, we as creatures are meant to rest. We are designed to rest. As we have evolved to have these moments where you are at peace and at rest at least once a week or a couple times a week, and that's how you get your
Yeah.
energy. And this is just the way we are. You can't fight biology, people. And so find ways to return to that, to relax and let your body be the way it's supposed to be. We are not meant to go 24/7. We're not even meant to go 8 hours straight. That's not intended for us. Come work on a farm. We'll show you how it works. You won't find people that are harder workers than ranchers and farmers, and they love their naps.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, that's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. Maybe we could dedicate one of those, ranchers and
Naps.
farmers. But it's
No,
all
just the
about
naps. Just the
they know how to
naps.
balance. They know how to work a good 18-hour day.
Yeah.
They know that they may have to stay up that night with calving season. But they know how to balance it. And so, and this is old professions, people.
Yeah.
If they are hard workers, you need to follow that same example. Take a vacation. As for me, you guys are going to be listening to this in the morning. It'll probably be about between 8 and 12 by my demographics here, my little scores that you're listening to this. And I'm probably going to be enjoying some Clue and some coffee, maybe getting some pineapple. Who knows what I'm doing right now? But regardless, I will not be thinking too much about work. I will be thinking a lot about my family, about the big blue ocean, and about how I can relax better.
Awesome.
See you all later.
See ya.